Family Dollar, where I literally was about 15 minutes ago. And there's a smaller group of kids, and when I mean small, it's at most 5. You know, but there's a group of 3. And 2 black kids, not trying to be racist, I'm sorry, I'm not racist, it's just there's 2 black kids and a white kid, which is, in my book, it's perfectly normal. And the bigger black kid was like, give me one of your keychains. I you know, got past him and I said they're not, you know, basically calling them stupid. You know, I said they're not keychains. Wheels are kind of cool in that car. Not my car of choice because the grill, the front end looks kind of not only creepy but ugly. You know, basically calling them stupid. You know, I'm not trying to be mean, but you know, he was like, give me one of your keychains, or let me get one of your keychains. You know, so that's why I yelled out, you know, they're not keychains. You know, back when I had the green bike, I was literally using them for self-defense if I needed to. But now that I'm not using them for self-defense, they're more used for like visibility. You know, if they are flopping around in the wind, you know, using them to be like, hey, there's something moving there, figure out where it's coming, where it's attached to, and decoration. That's all they're used for now. You know, yeah, I could you know, put the links together, you know, and put each link to the other key ring. Put things on the ends that I could use, you know, then I can grab the one end, you know, but I'll have, you know, something hard on both ends. No pun intended on that, sickos. About me, that's how you run into shit. I'm the type of person you want to keep your fucking kids away from, because I don't do good with I don't think I do well with kids. You know, although I did all right with Camden, Amber's son, Aiden I do pretty well with, because I know him really well, you know, because I work with him. Camden, Aiden's little brother, I know pretty well too, but he's a little kid. And when we were at the work party back in February, Cam was throwing a 14-pound ball around. That was my ball. I was like, Cam, and I didn't care that he was throwing the ball, using my ball. I didn't care at all. Amber's like, you don't mind him using your ball, do you? I said, no, I don't. I just don't want him to get hurt. That's the only thing. And then I was like, I went over by him. I said, hey, Camden, come here. I wasn't being mean. I said it like that. I said it loud enough because he had the music turned up so that we could hear it over, pins getting knocked over and balls hitting the floor, on the lane. I was like, Camden, come here. He's like, yeah. I knelt down and he's like, yeah. He had, he's the cutest little thing ever. Granted, I don't want kids right now, but he's like the cutest, like 4 or 5, like 5 or 6 year old. I think he's 6. I don't know how old he is. I think he might be 6. Holy shit, that towel is y'all tall. Yukon, sorry. On 26s, might be 24s too. Like I said, he's the cutest little thing ever. He's pretty smart for his age too. And I knelt down, or I crouched down, and I said, hey, I told him, go ahead and use my ball all you want. I don't care. I'm okay with it. I just don't want you getting hurt. He's like, why? I said, because my ball's really heavy. You're looking at about 12 or 14 pounds just for a bowling ball, which is more of an adult size, like, ball. Just so you know, yield don't mean stop. I appreciate you waiting, but yield doesn't mean stop. He's like, okay, so he's still throwing my ball. I was basically saying, hey, just be careful, it's okay to use my ball, just be careful. And I asked Amber, is it okay if I just tell Cam? I say Cam because, it's sometimes just easier to say than Camden. I was like, is it okay if I talk to Camden for a minute? She's like, yeah, why? I said, I just want to make sure he's being safe with my ball because that's about 12 or 14 pounds. Going up to Farland. She's like, yeah, go ahead. I was like, all right, thank you. I asked first, I didn't want her to be like, why are you scolding my fucking kid? Or why are you talking to my kid like that? I don't want to piss her off. Nice truck. Nice Charger too, or Challenger, one of the two. Ugh. I gotta stop and change my battery. Hang on.